man.
Yeah, Roundtree, man, he looked incredible, and that guy, man. I mean, I guess he went to Thailand, right? So,
Hmm.
I mean, he put in a lot of work there. You can tell, and I think that I think the dude is a beast, man. I really do. I was impressed with the way he made Anders look last night. I've not seen Anders look that way ever. It was crazy. I mean, what did you think about that, man?
Bro, it looked like a kid trying to fight his dad or something.
Yeah.
Like, like he had no answers, no answers. And if you looked at his face, he looked real confused. Eric Anders looked confused the entire fight.
Yeah, no, he definitely did, and we're gonna get into all that stuff. But I think we're live now. Yeah, we should be
Mm.
live. Let's go ahead and start the show. Let's talk about that fight at UFC 236 last night. Let's talk about Khalil Roundtree versus Eric Anders. What did you take away from this fight? I'll let you start with this.
Okay. On the Roundtree side, I want to say that um, as a guy who's done Muay Thai, whenever I practice my striking, I was never able to like incorporate that Thai style into my stance, even though I practiced it over and over again. It just didn't feel natural to me. And if you see Khalil Roundtree's old fights and you see the one that happened last night, his stance was completely different. It was straight up Thai. You see him light on that front foot, kicking it up, looking like Sagat from Street Fighter,
Yeah, definitely.
and it just goes to show like this guy is really what's the word, pliable,
Mhm.
malleable. Like this guy went over to Thailand. He was only there for like 4 or 5 months, and he came back looking so much better. And only because, and this is the great thing about MMA, a lot of guys want to be undefeated, but the thing is that if you're undefeated, you're not learning the right stuff. You're not fighting the right guys. And Khalil Roundtree got KTFO in the clinch by Johnny Walker, and he said, "You know what? I gotta head out to Thailand, get my clinch game up." And he did that. He came back looking amazing, and he made Eric Anders. He did whatever he wanted to poor little Eric Anders, man. I felt bad for him.
Yeah, yeah. He, like I said, man, he did make him look really bad. It looked like he was just like playing with Eric after a while, and that's the sense I got towards the end of the fight. And it seemed like he could finish him at any time, but he just didn't pull that trigger. But hey, what he did to Eric's leg, during that fight was just crazy. I'm surprised Eric was walking on that leg into the octagon. Walking around the octagon with it.
Mhm.
I bet you today he's not.
No, he's on crutches, I bet.
Man, that was a beating. Um, I wanted to see him get the either the TKO or the KO. Didn't
Mhm.
happen, but I'm looking forward to Roundtree's next fight. I'm a
Mhm.
fan now. I could say that actually a fan of the guy now. Not that I wasn't before, but he just wasn't really on my radar. Meds, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but now he's on my radar, and now I'm going to watch his fights and be excited for them. I think this could be potentially people don't take this and run with it, but he could be a potential contender one day.
Someday, for sure.
Yeah, he's still young, and he's learning. Obviously, he soaked all that Muay Thai skill set he got from Thailand rather quickly, I might add.
Yeah.
Um, dude's a beast. So I'm looking forward to seeing his future fights. Honestly, he was probably for me last night um, the second most impressive guy I watched last night.
Mhm.
The first, of course, being Dustin Poirier.
Hey, hey, hey. Hold up. Because I ain't finished with Roundtree yet, all right?
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Um, um, well, I don't have that much more to say, but I just wanted to say that he did mention that he's gonna go back to Thailand. He says that he plans on moving out there and staying there for a full year and staying out there. And I think that's a great, fantastic idea for him. And on the flip side, on Eric Anders' side, um, to be frank with you, man, I'd like to see him cut from the UFC. And not because I don't like him. I think he's got potential. I think he made a mistake moving up to 205, by the way. I think he
Mm,
should go back to 85. Unless the cut is absolutely killing him, he should go back to 85. But but yeah, 205. I don't know if that's ideal for him. And honestly, I think this is just one of those cases of too much too soon. Um, they threw him the Lyoto Machida, and I thought he won that fight. He didn't get the decision, and I guess that told the UFC, okay, this guy can hang. Yeah, he kind of can't, and the fact that Khalil Roundtree is not ranked at 205 at all, and he's not like some sort of, you know, super hot prospect that we expect to be champion in 2 to 3 years. And the fact that Eric Anders had zero answers for him, and mind you, zero answers to respond to something that Roundtree just learned how to do.
Yep.
It's very alarming. And yeah, man, he needs a little seasoning outside of the UFC because he's going to be eaten up in the UFC right now.
Yeah. I could see your concern there with Anders. But at the same time, I just think that Anders last night either didn't prep well for that fight. Maybe he didn't get some guy in the gym to really mimic, you know, that style. Maybe he wasn't expecting
Wasn't
to come in with that. And, you know, sometimes when you're in front of a guy that gives you a different look, it could be like a deer in headlights situation. And that's what it looked like to me. It almost looked to me like the Smith versus Jones fight, where Smith was just caught in the moment and didn't really know how to respond to this, you know, guy in front of him that is, well, in his case, is a legend in the sport already. But for Eric Anders and Roundtree here, I just think that he wasn't expecting that style of fight, that stance. What Roundtree did there, you know, I have to say, for that weight class, Roundtree looked fast.
Yeah, yeah.
He looked unbelievably fast. Those kicks weren't telegraphed at all. It looked amazing to me. I can't say enough, Meds. It was just amazing.
For sure. He was a bright shining star on this card that to be honest with you wasn't the best. But that co-main and main event were the saving grace, the cherry on top.
Man, I won't say saving grace because I enjoyed the fights. I enjoyed the main card. Yeah, there was a fight or two that might have been lackluster, but the Roundtree fight to me was really impressive. The co-main and main event were amazing cherries on top. These two fights were awesome. Some of the best mixed martial arts that we've seen in a while, to be honest. Let's start with the co-main event. I was going to jump into Porier, but let's leave that until the end. Co-main event, of course, was Kelvin Gastelum versus Israel Adesanya. And look, going into this fight, I was expecting Kelvin to do what he did, okay? But I was expecting Kelvin to really catch him, which he did. And I will say that I thought that Adesanya's chin really held up, and that impressed me about Adesanya. He's got a chin. The guy can take a punch. And you saw it on his face. Kelvin tagged him. Kelvin hurt him. But Adesanya, man, he pulled it off there at the end. And unfortunately, what happened to him kind of goes back to what you were predicting, I think, Mads, which is Kelvin needs to get in better shape.
Yeah.
And I don't know if what do you think about this fight? I mean, is that
well?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Well, what do I think about the fight? It was a hell of a fight, which I just want to give myself a little pat on the back, you know, because I picked the correct winner, and you know, a certain other analyst on this podcast did not. I didn't pick the right round. Okay, it was a decision, all right, but I picked the right guy. But tell you what though, Kelvin Gastelum, not only in this fight but the next fight as well, there were no losers here. Everybody won, and especially the fans won. And I'm jealous of those Atlanta fans who were there to see that live, because that was you were just blessed with MMA greatness. So you're welcome, Atlanta. Kelvin Gastelum, man, he showed the heart of a champion. He showed himself to be right on that level. Like that, there's like a round robin going on right now in middleweight, because in terms of who's the best of the best, I only see these three guys right now, and it's Adesanya, Kelvin, and the champ Robert Whittaker, because Yoel Romero keeps missing weight. Luke Rockhold is going up to 205. Jacare kind of just lost to Kelvin not too long ago.
And Jacare, I think we touched on this before. Jacare's getting older.
Yeah, Jacare's like 39. He's getting up there in age. So let's not count out Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum is here to stay. And like you said, hopefully he gets a little bit in better shape, maybe bulks up a little bit. I don't know. But in terms of the fight itself, Kelvin Gastelum, his hand speed, that's the thing about Kelvin Gastelum. And I think that's the thing that surprises everyone that he fights. Even Israel, who has seen it all in terms of striking and kickboxing. Kelvin Gastelum was landing that that left hand over and over and over again. And if you recall last week, I mentioned that Kelvin Gastelum has a fatal flaw, and that is that his right hand is useless. It's nothing but a decoy. And you know what? This fight, he made me eat those words, because he tagged up Izzy with that right hand and made him lean into that left power hand, which he caught him with a few times. And he even dropped Adesanya once with that. And very impressive performance from both guys. Did you see the grappling on Israel Adesanya?
Yeah. That was impressive too. Here's the thing, like with Adesanya, you look at his record, you look at the people he's previously beaten. He really hasn't been tested, Meds. This was his first real test, in my opinion.
I agree.
And unfortunately, it's to a guy that shouldn't even be in this weight class. Okay. I will say that till the end of time. He needs to be at 170. The guy is, again, you mentioned this last podcast. You're 100% right. The guy is just not built for 185. He's not built in size, and he's not built in stature. He actually, the problem with this guy is, and he's had this notorious problem of not being able to make weight. Okay. And that is why he's here. Let's be honest. That's the only reason why he's here. Somebody on Twitter, because I posted something on Twitter about how I feel that, he's better suited for 170. Somebody was like, well, it's hard for people to, make that cut, jump down to a whole weight class. True. It's hard for people that have that muscle bulk and everything.
Exactly.
But this guy, it's purely a problem with eating.
It's a discipline issue. And he said it himself.
And that's what I said. I said it's about discipline to this guy. It was like, the guy needs to get his act together, get disciplined, get back down to 170. And dude, he has every opportunity to take that belt at 170 because he is a beast. And he showed it last night. He showed the skill set. But with Adesanya showed us, look, he can take a hell of a punch. And he also showed us that dude's no pushover, and he has the heart of a champion, because at the end of that fight, I don't know where he got it, Mads, but it's like he just exploded and decided to say, no, I'm taking this belt.
Yeah.
You're not taking this from me, Kelvin, because up until then, it was a pretty close fight.
Yeah. And Kelvin won the 4th round.
Yeah, it was a pretty close fight. So when Adesanya decided, hey, I'm going to just, take this from you, hands down, this is mine. I was like, whoa, okay. That's the first time I got impressed by Adesanya ever. Because again, I wasn't feeling like he was tested, even against Derek Brunson, which in my opinion is probably the best he's faced before this.
Yeah.
But no, a lot of people are on Twitter now saying, they're riding this Adesanya train. And I want to say, slow down, people, because at the end of the day, Adesanya may have looked amazing thus far, but his biggest test was Kelvin Gastelum, a man who should not be in this weight class to begin with. And don't come at me with this stuff saying that if he put another 20 pounds of muscle, he would take out John Jones. Are you kidding me?
No.
That's what people are running with right now. And it's like, no. John Jones is on another level than Adesanya. And Jones has been kind of hinting at that to Adesanya lately on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah, he told him. Yeah.
So, but it's been really, like I said, this fight was great. It was fantastic. But again, at the end of the day, you're my boy, Kelvin, but you need to lose that weight, get disciplined, and go back to 170 where you belong.
Absolutely, man. Israel Adesanya was 7 inches taller than him. That's crazy. You can't compete at that weight class. And honestly, it just shows what a badass fighter Kelvin Gastelum is, that he's able to beat all these guys at a weight class he doesn't even belong in. So get yourself,
it really is.
Yeah, get yourself situated, man, and get yourself down to 70, man, because you can be world champ, real champ, man.
His size just doesn't make 185. He's facing an opponent that's 6'4", Meds.
Yep.
6'4". Those arms, and you said this last week too, and I have to laugh because you said he's got short arms. And yeah, for the division, he does. Yeah. He really, really does. I mean, The guy's somebody said this on Twitter as well. That he's built like a box.
Yeah.
He's basically a square, and he's got no neck. The guy doesn't go down. I mean, Adesanya put him down once, but I've never seen this man really KO'd. So like this guy is a strong tank. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that his size just does not fit well with these taller fighters.
No.
At 170, though, that's the way to go.
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, me personally, I'm 5'10", and my reach is 73 inches, and I'm more well suited to be a 55er.
Mm-hmm.
So what is this guy doing at 85?
Well, what he's doing there is too much McDonald's or something, whatever he's into.
He says he can't get enough of his, he's Mexican. He likes his Mexican food. That's what he says.
Dude, I'd love it too, man. My wife's Mexican. We eat tacos and everything, but you got to have some discipline in your life, especially if you're a fighter. You're on the biggest stage in the world when it comes to mixed martial arts. You're in the octagon. Get disciplined, man. You're among the best fighters in the world who have to do the same thing as you. That's the one thing that really pisses me off sometimes with these fighters, Meds, is when they cannot make weight. But
the other guy does.
Their jobs in life is to make weight, number one, and to make that fight. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's your job.
And I don't want to, because listen, I don't fight in the cage. It takes a lot of courage to fight in the cage. But as from an outsider's perspective, it's you can't treat fighting, if you're a professional fighter at this level, as from a fight camp to fight camp basis. Mm-hmm. Like you can't be like, in between camps, in between fights, I get up to 215 pounds because I eat everything I want. No, man, this is a lifestyle. You need to change your life and make it so that you live a fighter's and a martial artist lifestyle. And that means staying ready to go and close to weight at all times, so that if the UFC calls you up with a short notice opportunity, you can get there and you can make the weight. Because imagine Kelvin Gastelum gets offered a title shot. I don't know. Let's say Adesanya breaks his foot before the Whitaker fight, and the UFC calls up Gastelum and tells him, "Bro, can you make 85 for 2 weeks from now?" And he's ballooned up to 220, and he has to say no. That's crazy. Yeah. It's unacceptable.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And it's like, of course, we're just a couple of schlubs here talking about the fights. We're not in there doing this stuff. But at the end of the day, like, I'm going to play armchair quarterback sometimes. I'm going to sit here and, critique what these guys are doing because I am a fan. I am a paying fan, okay, of the sport. And if I see a guy who I think has fantastic potential in one division, that's where I want him to be. And that's where I expect him to be, especially when it comes down to just a personal discipline thing. I can't stop eating. Whose fault is that?
Yeah.
It's yourself, Kelvin. And I hate beating on him, but he just lost a major fight.
Yeah.
Hey, somebody's got to tell him in his camp. Dude.
Absolutely. And that's what I was going to say. I don't want to beat up on Kelvin because the guy is a warrior, man, and showed incredible heart and put on a hell of a performance. And I don't want to take any of that away from him. KG, you're a winner in my eyes, and I know a lot of other fans out there feel the same. You gave everything last night, and we thank you for it.
Yep. And I was down with him since the day he won the Ultimate Fighter, man. I really liked what I saw in him. And, I'm a fan. I said last week I was really pulling for him. I thought he was going to take out Adesanya, TKO in the third round. Didn't happen. You thought it was going to go the other way in the third round, but it ended up a decision for Adesanya. So, yes, Meds, you got the W.
I'll take a little bragging rights on this one.
A little bit here, but
a little bit.
But let's jump into the next one.
Because the next one I called pretty much exactly correctly. So let's go to the main event. Why don't we?
Yeah. And look, I'm going to eat some crow here, but at the same time, I'm going to give you your props, Meds, because I know last week you said exactly these words, or maybe I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but basically you told me that Dustin was going to win by bloody decision. And you were right. Dustin Porier beats Max Holloway for the lightweight interim belt, which, isn't the real belt. But anyway, the UFC loves to do that. Throw these.
Hey, man, he's still a champion in my eyes.
But hey, he's going to have to take it from Habib, the real champ right now. But I will say this, though. I'm going to hold off on that because I was going to get into him maybe versus Habib, but we could talk about that
Let's
after.
break down the fight first, and then we'll
this fight because there's so much to say here. Dustin Poirier, he impressed me the most last night because honestly, I saw Dustin Poirier, who is a of true champion caliber. He beat a man of true champion caliber in Max Holloway, and he made Max Holloway pay every time he would come in with a combo, with a punch. He countered beautifully. His striking was just on point, Meds. I really, really have to give my hats off to Dustin Poirier. He's definitely not the fighter he used to be. And I can't wait to see him continue this reign.
Yeah. I mean, before we dive deep into what happened in the fight, I want to ask you a question because I've been seeing some of this and it's been unsettling. I'm seeing some people out there, and including one of my very best friends who's probably listening right now. He texted me and he said, dude, I thought Max won. And dude, I've seen it and I can't believe people are saying this.
Okay.
Do you think he won?
No, I don't think he won. I think people who are saying that are wrong and they're not living by the mixed martial arts rules. They're not really paying attention to them anyway. And the way it goes is this. As you know, Meds, you've been watching this sport for a long time. If you watch that fight and you see the fact that Holloway did outstrike Poirier in a bunch of those rounds, in a majority of those rounds.
In terms of numbers.
And that's what people are looking at and they're watching. But if you look at what people have to understand, it's the significant strikes that matter more than just tagging, those pitter-pat jabs that Max Holloway was giving him. They weren't really effective like those significant strikes were coming from Poirier. That was the major difference here. And that's what people have to look at. Poirier was the bigger, stronger fighter, and he showed that. And it showed on Max Holloway's face. And that's another thing. That's another thing people have to look at, is that the judges also look at damage. And looking at that face and that big gash on his forehead said it all. And so did that counter striking. Like I said, he may have outstruck him here and there, but those were ineffective strikes. Those really didn't affect Poirier in any way. Poirier looked more tired from throwing punches and stuff than he did from getting hit at all. So and I won't even say he was really tired. I just think he slowed down a bit, but he wasn't tired.
I have a bit of a rant here because I need people to really understand. Okay. The problem here is that we have terms in MMA that are way too vague. For example, if you look at the quote unquote significant strike numbers, Max actually got, I believe, 4 more significant strikes than Dustin did, because if I'm not mistaken, it was 181 to 177. Okay, yes, those are significant strikes. But what's the definition of a significant strike? In MMA and in boxing as well. In MMA, a significant strike is any strike that lands that wasn't a jab. That's literally the definition. Anything that's not a jab gets counted as a significant strike. But every significant strike is not created equal. Yeah, Max landed a ton on Dustin. Yeah, for sure he did. In fact, it was a great fight. It was not like Dustin blew him out of the water. It was a great fight. But every time that Dustin landed, Max's entire body was moving. Like you saw the impact of these punches on Max's body. Like they were moving him. They were hurting him.
And Max, Meds,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about when I mention significant strikes. When I say significant strikes, it's not by that little check mark of
not that stupid definition.
Yeah, they're not putting that little number out there and showing you, oh, this is the significant strike. No, it's what I see on that screen. And I'm telling you right now, I do believe this, though, Meds. I do believe that it was closer than what the judges' scoring was.
Yeah, I would have given it 48-47.
I would have, too. I thought it was a 48-47 fight. Thank you, Meds, for at least saying that, because I thought I was the only one last night. But, yeah, I thought it was 48-47.
I think you could argue 48-46 as well, though.
I think they made it 49-46.
49-46. Yeah, they only gave Max 1 round.
Yeah, and I don't agree with that at all. I had Max winning 2 of those rounds, and 1 was really close. And so, in that respect, yes, give it to Porier. But at the end of the day, these people running around saying Holloway was robbed are just ludicrous. Stop it.
You're
Stop.
being a bit biased, man. And I get it, man. I get it.
Bro, and I am a Holloway, and I'm a Holloway fan. I'm a huge Holloway fan, way more than Dustin Poirier. But I can admit Holloway got beat.
Yeah.
It was obvious.
So let's get into the fight. You want to start off?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So well, basically the fight was what we said it would be last week. It was a boxing match. Because like I said, like we discussed last week, neither of these guys throws very many kicks. They're both very boxing heavy. And if anything, if it got to grappling, then Dustin was going to win that. Which he did. He won some of those rounds basically by just holding Max up against the cage, which I expected. But right from the beginning, Dustin and Max met in the middle. They traded, and that's when I saw right away. I'm like, yeah, Dustin's got this, because every time he landed, like I said, Max's. You saw the reaction. You saw the reaction of Max's. Like not even voluntary, just his body's just moving around, getting tagged up by these hard shots from Dustin. And
you got to give credit to Max though. At the same time, Max can take a licking, man.
Max has one of the best chins of all time,
bro. He took a beating last night, and honestly, like while that's impressive, unfortunately, I got to say, Max, you can't block with your face, dude.
No, man.
He was letting himself get tagged up a lot. And that was kind of frustrating for me.
That's the thing, though. I think it's a matter of Max not. It's a matter of Max not really putting enough weight into what it means to switch weight classes. You can't just fight at 55 the exact same way you would fight at 45. It's not going to work. And you know that showed, because at 45 he can absorb a lot more strikes because these guys are lighter hitters.
Yeah, he could absorb a lot more, and he could also tag these guys a lot better because
they're gonna go down.
He's usually the taller fighter at 145, and the
longer fighter.
Yeah, and he's usually able to keep distance and use that length. And yeah, you're right. He's usually able to overpower his competition in 145. Going up to 155 and facing a guy in Porier who's put on a lot of muscle over the years since they fought the first time. Yeah. It was just kind of nuts to me. Like if they would have reran this back and had another fight with the same built Dustin Porier, I would say that, you know, it could have.
I'd favor Max.
Yeah, it could have went Max's way, but Porier is a different beast now, and you have to take everything into account. And for Max to say, oh, he would fight at 170, he would fight at 205, dude, I know you would, but you're crazy.
Yeah, he's crazy. Dustin said that he is having a really hard time making 55 these days, and that 70 isn't his future.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Max, Dana White said himself that he wants to see him back at 45. Yeah. And I agree. He should go back to 45.
Yep. That's where he should stay, honestly. I think he can reign supreme at 145. He's the top of the guy. He's the top guy there, definitely. I think that he's definitely the best boxer there, but I think Dustin Porier, he might have took that best boxer in mixed martial arts
crown away. You think?
Yeah, I think he may have taken it away for the UFC at least, because, like I said, his striking was on point. His counters were just amazing, dude. Like honestly, he looked really, really good.
He had this weird shell too,
dude. You know what I like about him a lot too is his uppercuts. His uppercuts are unique, man. They look almost like video game like. I don't know. I just look at it and it looks cool.
Did you notice, like when he was defending punch, he put up like this weird shell.
Yeah,
like and it was effective. I was like, what is he doing? He's holding his arms in this weird position, but I don't know, man. It worked for him. And
it works, yeah. And it works because Max Holloway is no slouch. The guy can box, and he showed that last night. He tagged Dustin several times, but the thing is the difference was the power behind those punches.
Yeah, it's the power.
And again, that's what people have to understand as fans. And I hate to say it like this, but I'd say if you believe that Holloway won last night and he was robbed, I think you need to watch more mixed martial arts, understand the game a little bit more. The nuances in the boxing, the significant strikes and everything. Don't go by the little numbers that they show on the screen. Oh, he has this many more significant strikes. watch with your own eyes. Like, watch the fight. Like, pay attention to what they're doing. And I hate to sound elitist in that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Every MMA fan is always like, you don't know nothing about fighting.
Yeah, but no, at the end of the day, we do, because we've watched these forever now, Meds. And like, honestly, I can score these fights sometimes better than these judges.
Oh, for sure, man. Judges are terrible.
These judges are, they're terrible. I mean, come on, what happened to that?
I mean, 49. You mean the Alan Jouban fight?
Yeah.
Do you think he won that fight?
You know what? No, no. Actually, I don't. That was the fight. Was that the fight that?
That's the fight that the crowd was booing.
Was that Grant?
That was Dwight Grant. Yeah.
That's the one. Grant, dude, you could even see on his face that he knew he lost that fight, and his corner was jumping up and down like they just won the damn, Olympics or something.
So you thought he lost the fight? Dwight Grant? You thought Dwight Grant lost the fight?
Yes, I did.
You know what? I agree. I do think he lost the fight, but here's the thing about this particular decision. For example, there's some decisions that I get really upset over. Understand? For example, a long time ago, Carlos Condit fought Robbie Lawler for the title, and I thought Carlos Condit won hands down. Like, I've seen that fight over and over and over and over again, and I still can't believe the judges stole that from Carlos. Right?
I'm 100% with you in that fight, brother. I know what you're talking about because I'm a huge Carlos Condit fan.
I can't believe the judges stole that from Carlos. It breaks my heart to this day. But there are some other fights where I can say, yeah, this guy won, but if they gave it to the other guy, I wouldn't be super upset about it.
Yeah, and that's exactly the situation from last night as well.
Yes.
Because I hate when the term robbery is thrown out too much, especially with fights that are very close. It's not a robbery if it's close, people.
Exactly.
It was like last night. Here's the thing, if they would have given it to Holloway, okay, I would have been like, I thought Porier won, but I wouldn't have been pissed off. I wouldn't have been like, oh, this is a robbery, this is ridiculous, that sort of attitude. There's some fights where it's a total landslide, and you can see. But with that fight, like, it wouldn't have really pissed me off. But yeah, I would have been annoyed. I would have said, damn it, they got it wrong. But whatever, it happens. But sometimes they get it completely wrong and just piss you off, these judges. And man. But the 49, like I said, 49-46, I don't agree with that. I don't.
I mean, hey, as long as they got the rightful winner, I can't be too mad at the scorecards, man. Because, I mean, the thing is, at the same time, I was emotionally invested. I was.
We both were.
Because I just really love Dustin Poirier. And it's not that I don't love Max, because I do. It's just that Max Holloway already realized his dream. Like, I just wanted to see Dustin climb that mountain, because Max already climbed the mountain. And I just wanted to see that dream fulfilled for somebody else. And that's why I was so emotionally invested for Dustin. And I'm so happy for him, man. And you know what? Like, Max Holloway's so classy. And in the post-fight interview, he said, forget all that interim nonsense. Justin Poirier just came in here and beat a world champion. I'm a world champion. That makes him a world champion. Forget all that other nonsense. And I agree. Because, same thing with Carlos Condit, to bring him back. I consider Carlos Condit a champion, because not only did he rightfully beat Robbie Lawler, but he beat Nick Diaz for that interim title, man. And I don't care, man. Nick Diaz is a championship level caliber fighter. And Carlos Condit will always be a champion to me.
I met that guy. Yeah, I met that guy once, and his girlfriend. Very nice guy, man. Carlos is cool. Stand up.
Shout out to the homie Irrelevant Native in the chat. He says, personally, I don't think anyone is ready for Khabib. Sir, you're correct. You're right. Absolutely.
Okay. I will say, to a degree, I'll agree with that. But at the same time, we're going to get into this now. Dustin.
Yeah, let's start it now.
Dustin Poirier, I think, is the only fighter I've seen so far.
That's Tony.
That I think, or Tony Ferguson, yes, but we'll talk about him later. Tony Ferguson, I think, has the tools to beat Khabib. I really do. The guy is crazy enough to do it, man, and I mean that respectfully. In the octagon, he's a madman, and I love Tony Ferguson. But Poirier, I think, really does have a great tool set to fight against Khabib. I think that he can outbox Khabib, definitely, and I think that he's good on the ground too. and he's a strong fighter. I think where Habib might get him though is the fact that his wrestling might be better.
Of
I'm not,
course.
yeah, I don't know. I want to see what they look like. But I would definitely say that yes, put that guy up against Habib. I want to see what he looks like against him, because we had a guy in Ally Aquinta fight against him and get go all 5 rounds.
Yeah. And he didn't even
So,
train for him.
yeah, and Ally Aquinta didn't train for him, and Ally Aquinta is not even on Habib's level, in my opinion. And look at how far he got with Habib. I mean,
here's the thing, Fonz.
He was tossed around. Don't get it twisted though. He was tossed around like a rag doll here and there, but hey, he lasted the whole 5 rounds. I can see Dustin Poirier doing that and then some, and actually hurting Habib here and there.
And Fonz, bro, this is why the fights happen. This is why we have the fights, right? Because if we just said, oh, that guy's not ready for Khabib, then fuck it. Then let's just have every fighter come up and forfeit, and let's just have Khabib win every time. No, we can't do that. We need to have the fights actually happen. This is a crazy sport. Anything can happen. You think that Dustin Poirier or Tony Ferguson, or for that matter, Conor McGregor in a rematch couldn't spark out Khabib Nurmagomedov in 30 seconds? If you don't think that can happen, you're crazy. It absolutely could happen. I wouldn't bet money on it, but it can happen. Like, nobody's untouchable in MMA. Nobody. John Jones, when he defends against Thiago Santos is a madman. Thiago Santos could put a right hook on John Jones that sleeps him. It can happen to anybody. It can happen to anybody. It happened to Jose Aldo, who's one of the greatest of all time. It happens. So let's not act like everybody should just show up and throw in the towel as soon as the fight starts against Khabib. This is why we fight the fights.
Yeah, unless you're Eric Anders against Roundtree.
He never had a chance.
I'm just saying. But no, I just think Poirier, he looks good, man. He looks poised enough to go up against the best. Habib is the best in that division. I would love to see that. But first, honestly, and it really pisses me off that the UFC does this. They've already like pretty much said, yeah, he's going to get Habib next. It's like, what happened to Tony?
Speaking of, you want to...
Yeah, let's go into some news. We can start with Tony Ferguson and get into all this stuff.
Yeah, let's wrap up the fight talk.
Yeah, Tony Ferguson, man. Tony Ferguson is cleared to fight again. So what happened to that fight against Habib, Meds? I mean, what happened?
I mean, now the water is super muddy now because now we have Poirier.
I know, but at the same time, it's like poor freaking Tony's been sitting on the sidelines. Matter of fact, he's been waiting for this fight for how long? I mean, it's been probably 2 years.
Yeah, it's 4 times they've been scheduled. 4 times they fell out.
Yeah,
twice it was because of Tony, and twice it was because of Habib.
Yeah, it's crazy, but at the end of the day, we got some great fights ahead of us. You know what I'm saying? Right. Either way, if Poirier does face Habib next, which is probably going to happen, that is what's going to happen.
I would hope so.
The interim belt, so that's going to happen. Tony's probably going to get the winner of those two. So
yeah, I think the winner should fight Tony for sure.
And honestly, I think Tony beats Poirier. I think he beats Poirier. I don't think
I would pick him. Yeah.
I think he would beat him. And I think that he has a good shot against Habib. He's the only guy I say that has a great shot against Habib.
Yeah.
In that division.
I think only 2 guys can beat Khabib. And I'm not saying I would favor them to beat Khabib. That's not what I'm saying. Don't get me wrong, guys. I'm saying they have a shot because most other guys straight up don't have a shot. Poirier and Tony have a shot. They both have a shot.
I think a healthy and focused Conor has a shot against Habib. I think what we saw in him against Habib wasn't the same Conor we saw previously.
You know what? Bring that up. What were we discussing before the show?
We were talking about Conor McGregor and the fact that he can't get his act straight, and he's all full of his own whiskey or vodka or whatever it is, his whiskey. And he's going out and punching people in bars now. Like, dude's just got to get his life act together first before he even attempts to come back to the octagon. And yes, he's claimed that he's retiring. He's not retiring. The guy has already said something on Twitter about see you in the octagon. Man, listen, get your life together, because what you got going on right now, all this legal trouble, all this nonsense, this mess needs to be cleaned up, because honestly, I don't like the black eyes in the sport, right? We like all these eyes on the sport, these sports stars to bring in all these, fans, but we don't need the black eyes. And that is what Conor is bringing now. And I don't want any of that shit. Like, clean your act up, come back to the sport and get focused. I think that he has a shot against Habib if he was very focused and he comes back, because he didn't look right against Habib. There was something off about him. And you were telling me something earlier about what you heard.
Yeah, Connor came out and said that 3 weeks out before the fight against Habib, he broke his foot. And listen, Connor says a lot of stuff, and I don't believe everything he says, but I do believe this, because he went into a fight with Chad Mendes with a torn ACL. He's known to be this kind of guy. He's known to be the kind of guy who straight up will never ever pull out of a fight. He refuses to do it.
Yeah.
So and in the Khabib fight, he looked really flat-footed. He did not look like his usual self. So I'm willing to buy his story about his foot being broken. Why is he mentioning it now? I don't know, but I believe it, and I do believe that a healthy Conor does have a chance against Habib. Still probably loses, but has a much better chance than the version that we saw. But again, like you said, let's let this guy get his stuff together, because there's a lot more deserving guys there, and he needs to get in the back of the line, because we need Porier fighting Habib, and we need the winner of that fighting Tony. And I don't need Conor throwing a monkey wrench into the middle of that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I believe if Conor gets everything together, comes back, and he can fight the winner of whoever Tony fights, that's it, but as far as these fights go, I do think Tony has a big shot against Habib. And we had Pablo the Third in the chat saying that he believes Tony should fight Conor. I don't believe that should happen. I think that Tony should go for the belt next.
Yeah. Conor doesn't deserve to fight Tony. He doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
Conor McGregor should fight somebody lower ranked on the totem pole. He should fight. You know what? You know who Conor should fight? He should fight Justin Gaethje.
Oh, great matchup, man. Two guys that'll stand toe to toe. One man will leave that octagon standing.
And then maybe we can get him into the title talk, because right now, man, this is not it, Chief.
It's not. What else we got for news?
You know what, man? Because we've talked about this all week. Why don't we just jump into it? Let's talk about TJ Dillashaw being suspended by USADA.
Oh yeah. So TJ Dillashaw, guys, you heard he got a 2-year suspension because of his the banned substance he was injecting into himself, EPO, which isn't a steroid per se, but it is a enhancing drug that it basically gives you a lot of cardio. Okay. It gets your freaking motor running 0 to 60 in no time flat, and you can continue to go and go and go.
It increases your red blood cell count.
Yeah. So it lasts up to 30 days, I've heard. So this effect can last up to 30 days. And the fact is that TJ Dillashaw, he was caught with his last fight against Henry Cejudo, where he was knocked out in 32 seconds, by the way. I hate
bad stoppage, but go on.
I hate to jab you at that, but hey, you know what? No. It was that EPO that wanted to keep going, but they had to settle him down, bro.
Okay, well, down. Well, for the fans listening, me and Fonz don't agree on this, but I'm gonna go on a bit of a rant. So I'm gonna let you say your piece before I take over for a little bit.
Okay, so basically, for me, when it comes down to this whole situation, I believe personally that Jeff Novitzky from USADA is lying about several things. And the reason why I suspect him to be lying is for, one reason, to save face. I think the guy is just covering up for the fact that TJ, I believe, has been on this stuff for years. And I believe his whole career in the UFC, he's been on EPO. And that's why he's looked incredible against incredible guys. I think it attributes to that anyway, his cardio anyway. I think Jeff Novitzky saying that that they went back and tested, because we heard rumors, all right, I was hearing rumors that they went back and tested the fight against Cody Garbrandt back in December. And it came back and said, he was dirty. He was on EPO back then. That was the rumor. And then all of a sudden, Jeff Novitzky came out and said, no, that was just a rumor. We tested it.
No.
Negative.
What happened was they tested a sample from December, which was about a month or so out from the fight where they actually caught him, and that one was also dirty.
Okay.
But
Okay. So, all right. So that's where the muddied waters came from, was the fact that it was a test after the fight, a month out after the fight, that was dirty. Okay.
a month before the Cejudo fight.
Okay. That makes sense. But at the same time, everybody was speculating that, he was dirty during the Cody fight.
Cody himself accused him.
Yeah. And here's the thing, though. And that's what people have to look at. And the reason why I think that, again, he's covering up because he doesn't want USADA nor the UFC to look bad, because it would look bad if they find out TJ's been dirty this whole time. It would look terrible. But what they're doing is they're just saying, no, he's caught here. He's going to get in trouble, 2 years. And here we have some quotes from Cody. Well, I don't have a direct quote, but Cody has been saying publicly, he's been saying since for years now, okay, years. This one goes back to 2017, where he went to USADA before he fought TJ the first time, and he said, "Hey, I know TJ is on EPO." Straight up told him it's EPO. Test for EPO. They did not test for EPO, apparently. This is from Cody now. And so they didn't test for EPO. And apparently, just recently, the other day, Cody had tweeted something about how he told USADA about all this stuff. USADA didn't test it. And recently he went back to USADA and said, "Hey, can you go test our fights?" They said, "No, we can't. We didn't have the money to store it. It's gone." So now Jeff knows.
No, that was a rumor. That was a rumor.
Okay, but this is what Cody is saying. So why would Cody say all this, but then Jeff Novinsky come out and say, "Well, you know what? We tested it and it was clean."
Yeah. Yeah, they said that he went back a few fights.
But here's the thing, though. What I don't understand is, why were they saying that they weren't testing for EPO initially, and then they said now they're saying that they always had tested for EPO?
Well, he said that they test on EPO, just not literally every single test.
Yeah, see, and that's the problem I have with this whole situation. The fact that, if a fighter is coming to you and saying, "I know a guy who is on EPO, test for this," and you don't do it, that there's a problem there.
Yeah.
There's a problem there. And that may be an issue with USADA itself, and maybe one of the reasons why you don't like USADA. But at the end of the day, I feel that USADA should be there to try to really clean this up, because I don't believe that all the fighters are on some banned substance. Yes, I believe that more than, I'd say the majority probably are. Okay. Over 50%, I'll say that, just to be conservative. Yeah. Over 50% are on something that's a banned substance.
At least 51, for sure.
But what about those other 48%, or even if it was 20% that aren't on it and they're not cheating? That to me is what makes me want them to clean up the sport, is for those guys, for the guys that don't do it, for the Ben Askrens, because you can look at Ben Askren. That guy's not on anything. That guy's got dad bod of the year, but
Anderson Silva's got a dad bod too. He got popped.
Well, he only recently got that dad bod. Back when he was on that stuff, man, he was shredded, dude. So was John Jones. John Jones was pretty shredded. So I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's like this. Like, for those that don't cheat, I believe that they should clean up the sport. And I don't believe in this situation that they're doing in the NFL, the NBA, these other sports where they say they're trying to clean it up, but they're really not. It's kind of a
no, they're not.
Hey, we're coming by to do this test. Okay, yeah, I'll be ready.
Yeah, they know when to be clean. That's why nobody ever fails. Let me go into my spiel.
Go ahead.
Because and before I start, full disclosure, TJ Dillashaw is my favorite fighter. He is. I love his style. And he's a dick, and I like that too. I'm a bit of a dick myself, so I like the guys who are kind of jerks. I just do. I gravitate towards them. Okay, but that being said, I'm just saying that right now, just so we're clear. There are biases involved, but however, the way I feel about this, what I'm about to say, applies 100% of the time, and it applies to 100% of the fighters. And here's the thing. I believe that TJ Dillashaw, he got suspended, and he was rightfully suspended. I'm not saying they should not have suspended him. He knew the rules. he broke the rules, and he's going to pay for it, and as he should, as he should. And also he put out a statement, and he's owning up to it. He's admitting it. He's not claiming nonsense like, oh, this thing was tainted. This, blah, blah. No, he's admitting to it. He said it straight up. I did it. I'm sorry. I got caught. I'm gonna serve my suspension. I'm gonna move on with my life. Good on you, TJ. Good on you. Okay. But here is what I want to say. There's a lot of hypocrisy when it comes to anti-doping, and I can't stand it, and I hate it. And here's why. Cody Garbrandt said straight up, as soon as he was matched up with TJ Dillashaw, yo, that guy's on PEDs. He came to Alpha Male, and he showed everybody how to do them. Okay, first of all, you just admitted that everybody at Alpha Male is on steroids. That's what you just said. Okay, first of all. Secondly, you didn't have a problem with this until he left your team. You didn't say anything. Nobody said anything until he left your team. So do you have a problem with it, or is it just a personal thing that you just want to ruin TJ's reputation or ruin his career just because he's not on your side anymore? Because when he was on your side, you had no problem with it, right? And another thing, who was it? What Diaz brother was it? Was it Nate or Nick who said everybody's on steroids?
Nate.
Okay, so Nate said everybody's on steroids, right? And that was an answer to a question, I believe, basically asking him like, how do you feel about blah, blah, blah? And he's like, dude, I don't care. Everybody's on steroids.
Yep.
And I think what he just said right there is the correct attitude to have. And you know why? Because his teammates, he has two teammates who, you know, from all accounts he's very close to and he loves. And that is Jake Shields and El Nino. What's his name? El Nino. The Mexican, Gilbert Melendez.
Melendez, yeah.
So yeah, Gil Melendez and Jake Shields have both failed drug tests in the past. And do you think that Nate Diaz didn't know that he was on this stuff? Like that these guys were on this stuff? Of course they know. These guys train together. They confide in each other. They're friends. Yeah. They know.
It's the same with TJ Dillashaw saying that, you know, his team had nothing to do with it. They knew.
Of course they knew. Of course they knew. This is your fighter. When it comes to doing Ludwig, this is your star pupil. Of course he knew. Of course he knew. And here's what I'm saying. There's a lot of hypocrisy, man. And that's the thing. People don't really care until stuff like this comes out. They really don't care.
I'm going to play. I got to play devil's advocate for a moment here, though. Let's just say for the sake of argument, though, that these guys like, let's say Nate Diaz, let's say he hasn't touched the stuff. He hasn't done anything except for marijuana. We know he smokes that. Let's say that he basically said, I don't do this stuff and I'm not snitching on my boys, you know, that sort of thing. But
I don't like it.
What about guys like him that don't do it, though? Do you think that's fair to him?
It is fair because he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's getting into. That he knows that other guys are using, but you have the confidence in yourself. It's like, yo, I don't care if guys are using. I'm still going to kick their ass. And the Pride contracts, and everybody loves Pride and likes to look back on it with pride. No pun intended. They love it. Pride was the shit. The Pride contract said in big, bold, black letters, we don't test you for steroids. Do whatever you want. Just don't do illicit drugs. The Japanese, and you know this is the case because of something that happened within the gaming industry recently, where a guy got caught using cocaine and basically was eliminated from his video game. The Japanese are real serious when it comes to using illicit drugs. They don't like that shit. But on the contracts, it says straight up, bro, don't do coke, don't do heroin, but use all the roids you want. All of these guys signed on and they willingly accepted this and nobody had a problem with it. And Demetrius Johnson, I heard him waving the flag of anti-doping in USADA. Yeah, dude, but you just signed to one championship where there's no athletic commission and there's no drug testing. There's literally no drug testing. You think that Nastyukin guy who knocked the crap out of Eddie Alvarez the other week was clean?
No.
Nobody thinks that, and everybody knew that, but they don't care.
Okay, but here's the deal, though. Those organizations don't have those policies. The UFC does. And I think that because they have these policies, these fighters have to abide by them. So if they
No,
get
I
caught, they
agree.
get caught. But
If you got caught, you broke the rules, you're fucked. I agree with that.
if there's rules in place, I think you should follow them. And I don't think it's right when a fighter does not follow them, because let's just say, let's put it out there like this. Let's say we're in a long distance vehicle race, and we all have to have the same gas tank, the same, let's say 22 gallon gas tank, but you have a 50-gallon gas tank. Oh, I'm going to be pissed. I got to stop more times for gas than you do. I'm going to lose. Right. So people should follow the rules, man, the rules of the sport. And if there's rules in place here in this organization, they should follow that. And if you go outside the rules, it's called cheating.
I agree with that, Fonz. And let me wrap this up because I'm almost done. All I wanted to say was that there was just a lot of hypocrisy involved. Okay, that's all. Because when it really comes down to it, I really don't think these fighters care, man. They don't. They just use this stuff as ammo to shoot at their enemies.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I agree with that. And moving and on top of that, okay, first of all, there's no evidence. There's no evidence of if whether or not TJ was using his entire career. There's no evidence of that. We have evidence of one failed test. Okay, one. No, you know what? Two, but relating to the same fight, so it counts as one violation. That's all. So people want to speculate. Oh, this guy's been using it all this time. Okay, sure, that's cool, but it is speculation because you don't have any evidence towards that. Okay, that's first. That's one. And two, who's to say that USADA is trustworthy anyway? They're letting John Jones fight dirty every fight.
I know it pisses me off about this whole picogram thing. It really does.
USADA has no credibility.
No, it sucks because we're at the mercy of USADA. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is who they've chosen to run the tests, to do everything for the organization. I get it. But at the end of the day, these are the rules, and we got to play by the rules. And this whole thing with John Jones, yes, it bends that rule just a bit, just enough to piss you off, right? It is hypocrisy in that regard, but
that's all I wanted to say. That's all.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, EPO,
it's unacceptable, man. He broke the rules. He should serve his time.
Yeah, this is the stuff that Lance Armstrong was busted with, which, by the way, was by Jeff Novitzky.
Oh, actually, hang on. Because here's another thing. Because I had another dude. I got ammo. I came with some ammo. Listen, Lance Armstrong never failed a test. Never. And you know who else never failed a test? Alex Rodriguez never failed a test. Never. All of these people were caught through word of mouth and paper trails. Okay. So what does that mean? What does that mean? I say that to say this. Tests don't catch everybody. So just assuming that these guys are all passing tests. Yeah, TJ's been passing tests this entire time too. Obviously, he's dirty. How many other guys are pissing clean, but they're actually dirty? I'm sure there's tons of them. So I'm not going to bury TJ Dillashaw just because he got caught.
That's why we said at the top of this whole situation that we both are in agreement that most of these fighters probably are on something, right? I mean, you look at a guy like Yoel Romero, and you can't tell me, you can't tell me that guy's not on anything. I don't care what he says. Oh, go to Colombia. We all look like that. No, you don't. No, you don't.
All I'm saying is that just because guys are passing tests doesn't mean they're clean. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of hypocrisy in this. And you know what? And if everybody wants to jump off that TJ bandwagon, you know what? Fine. That's cool. But
I just have I have a personal problem with roids or any kind of advantage being taken, some kind of drug to give you that advantage in this kind of sport, because it really does. It affects those that don't use, and it affects those, personal relationships some of these fighters might have. I know personal friends of mine that were taking steroids that flew off the deep end, man. Like when they were cycling, they were monsters. Literally, I've watched a guy beat the hell out of a mutual friend because he annoyed him one day.
Wow.
While he was using roids, dude beat the hell out of him, and it was nothing nice, man. And the thing is like, I feel like this is why in a lot of sports we have a lot of athletes that have that abuse their wives and stuff. I think this attributes to that, and that is one reason why I would love to clean up the sport. But I get what you're saying with the hypocrisy. I get what you're saying with, you know, all these other guys that are using or just getting away with it. Yeah, it all makes sense. But at the end of the day, I feel like there's sort of a Bobby Green effect going on, and I use Bobby Green, the mixed martial artist.
Oh, okay.
Because he's kind of, you know, doing what you're saying others are doing, where he knows guys that are using, but he's not going to be a snitch.
He's not saying anything. Every fighter came out and lambasted John Jones when they came out and when it came out and it was revealed that he's snitching on guys. Everybody was talking about that he was dishonorable. Okay, how is he dishonorable for calling out the things that you guys are calling dishonorable? I don't understand. It's okay to catch people, but only if USADA catches them. It's crazy. And fighters are saying this. Fabricio Verdun got popped, and he said they offered me to snitch too. And I said no, because I'm not snitching on nobody. Okay, so you're a part of the problem too, dude.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. If they're going to go ahead and do that, then they have no reason to start pointing fingers when they get beat by a guy who they know is on roids to begin with. Exactly. Unless you're Cody Garbrandt and you try to tell USADA beforehand.
I hear his plight.
I understand him completely. That is wrong. But at the same time, like, you know, I hear what you're saying, Meds. I'm in agreement with some of what you're saying there. Yes.
You know what? I hate to interrupt you because I just want to add two more things, and that I swear to God, I'm done.
Go ahead.
One, the first thing is baseball sucked ever since they took the steroids out of it. That's one. Okay. It sucks ass. And two, as a person who trained and can no longer train because his body won't allow him to, you know what? I could have used some of that stuff. And I'm not going to be mad at these guys for using this stuff because I know the toll that it takes on your body. And if this keeps and if this lets you get up every day and go train, I'm not mad at you. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. I say get off the stuff, whatever you're on, you're going to get caught eventually. And you are indeed cheating at the end of the day. That's all I got to say. There's certain things that I feel are kind of dumb to ban in mixed martial arts or any athletic sport.
Caffeine and ibuprofen are on the list, right?
Yeah. That's marijuana. Another one I feel stupid.
They can't even use an IV.
Yeah. It's just crazy. Let's move on though.
Yeah. He broke the rules. It is what it is.
Yeah. 2 years. We'll see what he looks like when he comes back. Look,
probably not good.
Dude, I wish the best for him. You know what I'm saying? I don't wish anybody any ill will in this sport. I love the sport so much. I wish all the best. Let's go ahead and talk about something else here. What else do we have in the way of news?
Honestly, man,
we touched on Connor. We touched on TJ. We touched on Tony. I think we got it all, man.
Indeed.
Let's go ahead and look at who's in the chat. Let's see if we have any questions. If you guys got any questions, go ahead and throw them at us before we end the podcast.
Yeah, because we're not going to pick fights today because full disclosure, we looked at the fight card for next week. It's pretty trash. It's not even worth really talking about. So we're going to skip that. Okay,
so let's just throw out there who do we got in the main event?
I got Overeem.
Overeem, yeah, I'm going. Well, who's he fighting against?
He's fighting Alexei Olenek.
Yeah, I'm going Overeem.
Yeah, Overeem's going to KO this dude in the first round. That's what I think. But hey, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. This is a cleaned up Overeem.
Yeah, but Overeem still looks good, man.
Remember Overeem on TRT?
Oh, you mean Ubereem?
Yes, and dude, and Belfort on TRT. Those two guys. Somebody mentioned that in the chat.
Yeah, because he's at one championship now.
Yeah, Belfort. Yeah, he's going to be a beast over there.
Hell yeah, he's going to wreck dudes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Pablo III, Fonz, hitting us with a question. What is Khabib's main weakness that you guys see that can be exploited? What do you think?
Michael Johnson exploited that. Really good boxing. And that's something that I think that Conor didn't show in his fight against him. I think that's why I think something was wrong in that fight with Conor. I'm not saying he had a broken foot. I'm not going with that. What he says anyway. I just saw a man that wasn't himself that day. You take a good boxer in there with heavy hands, I think they can KO that guy.
Hell yeah. The thing with Khabib is, right, Because Khabib, what is Khabib's main weakness? Check this out, Pablo. Khabib has weaknesses in every facet of his game, except the wrestling. Like Dustin Poirier is a way better fighter than Khabib Nurmagomedov, but but Khabib Nurmagomedov has a trump card in his pocket, which always wins. Understand? It doesn't matter what card you're holding. That one card beats all your other cards. So what do you have to do to Khabib? You're not going to outlast him. You're not going to beat him in the decision.
Nope.
What do you have to do to Khabib to beat him? You have to spark him out in the first couple minutes of the fight.
Or if you're great, if you're a black belt at BJJ and you're great off your back, you have a very good shot at beating Khabib.
I don't think so, man.
I do. Khabib is mainly more of a ground and pound type guy. He'll keep you down there and just throw punches at you.
How many guys has he beat up that are black belts? A ton.
But they've been so small.
What they say, man, is when you're on the ground, you get rocked. Well, that first elbow takes you from black to brown.
Yeah,
that
but
second elbow takes you from brown to purple.
I can remember everybody he's been in that octagon with looked tiny compared to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just looked small. Like that guy, Khabib is walking around probably closer to 200. He's probably closer to 200 pounds when he's walking around every day, you know, between fights. I think
it's Dos Anjos though.
Yeah, no,
Dos Anjos is black belt.
Yeah, I don't know, but I really do think a good boxer could beat Khabib. I really do. Because did you watch you've seen the Michael Johnson fight. Mm-hmm. Michael Johnson touched him a lot, but the thing that he lacked was the power to take Khabib down.
I think somebody heavy-handed like Porier can sleep Khabib.
Yeah, he's got a shot. That's why I say he's got a shot. I'm not saying he'll beat Khabib, but I say he's got a good shot.
And Gaethje actually, I think, is a good matchup as well, because Gaethje, I think, when it comes to grappling, he's the only one that I think can even stop a Khabib takedown. Because Gaethje, even though he's never shown it in a fight, Gaethje is a elite high-level wrestler.
That's not true. We've seen Ally Aquinta stop his takedowns here and there.
He stopped some, but not all.
Not all. But yeah, but I could see the same. I could see the same thing happening with Justin. I think he can stop some, not all. Dustin Poirier, same. I think Dustin Poirier, honestly, you know, going back to what we were talking about earlier, Dustin Poirier looks like he could definitely, he has a shot against Khabib.
Yeah, somebody who can stuff a takedown or two and has really good, crisp, powerful boxing, they can beat Khabib. Other than that, he's going to be undefeated, guys. I'm sorry. Like, there's very few guys, in fact, none in MMA who go undefeated, but Khabib might be the one. Khabib might be the one. So he might. It's just what it is.
Pablo's saying he thinks that low kicks could be detrimental to beating Khabib.
No, absolutely not. When you can't low kick a wrestler, if you watch Jose Aldo versus Frankie Edgar 2, what's Jose Aldo's trademark attack? It's a low kick. He threw none against Frankie Edgar. Why? Because Frankie Edgar's a wrestler. A wrestler catches your kick and takes you down. That's why guys don't kick Khabib like that.
That's true. Yeah. It's sad though, because man, going back to Aldo, when Aldo used to throw those low kicks, man, they were deadly. Back in the WEC, oh my gosh, what he did to Uriah Faber. I was there at that fight. I was there. Yes, I was there in that audience, pulling for Faber, hometown boy, you know, Sacramento, hour away from me. So we're watching the fights. Faber's getting kicked to death in those legs. And at one point, his corner had to carry him to the stool in between rounds. And Faber went out there on one leg. That's how great Faber was, honestly. Like, he may not have been the greatest mixed martial artist or anything, but he had the best heart I've ever seen in any fighter. You can't take that away from Faber.
He fought Mike Brown with 2 broken hands.
I was there for that fight as well.
But yeah, man.
WC fights, every fight that came to California for the WC, I went and watched because they were cheaper than the UFC. And honestly, at that time, they were better than the UFC. Those fights were unbelievably good.
100%. I love that. And I love Joe Martinez as an announcer. He's awesome.
Yeah. I like that the UFC uses him sometimes.
Yeah, I love it. He's one of my favorites. Pablo says, If the fighters mixes it up with low kicks and not being predictable, it's simply you simply won't have time to mix it up because Khabib doesn't engage in the striking too long. He engages in the striking enough to distract you from the fact that he's about to hit the takedown.
And Khabib is a constant pressure guy.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's not that bad at boxing either.
No. He's not that bad, but he's not that good either. Like I said, man, a great boxer with some power in his hands would beat Khabib.
Mm-hmm.
What we saw against Conor, that was not 100% Conor. That was just not it. Because I mean, look at what Michael Johnson did to him. Michael Johnson touched him quite a few times.
But yeah, when it comes to striking kicks, I would not suggest a fighter go in with a kick-heavy game against Khabib. We all saw what he did to what's his name? The Brazilian, Barboza. We all saw what he did to Barboza. Barboza's mostly a kicker. He had no chance in there.
Dude, he ragdolled Barboza. Barboza was not even competition for Khabib, really.
You felt guilty for Barboza in there.
It was bad.
But yeah, it needs to be a crisp boxer, a powerful boxer. So really, there's only a couple guys who can really give Khabib that fight. So,
yeah. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and end the show here. Meds, this has been a great episode, man. Great banter back and forth here. Love talking the fights with you and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we have to go. And look, until next Sunday. Until next Sunday, guys, we'll see you right back here at the Fight Culture Podcast right here on YouTube. And Meds, do you want to close out the show?
Oh, sure thing, man. Fonz, always fantastic talking fights with you. And everybody in the chat, thanks you for coming by. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for being active. Make sure to follow the show at Fight Culture Pod on Twitter, at jfonzarelli on Twitter, and me, the Real Meds _ on Twitter. I hold the crown this week. I picked the fights correctly. Fonz did not, as per usual. Get used to this, fellas.
Man.
Call up the show. Call up the show. Feel free to call up live or call up and leave a voicemail. The number is 1747-FIGHT-ME. So call that number up. Leave us a question. We will answer it live on the air on the next show. Enjoy the fights coming this weekend. I know I will. And yeah, that's all we got for you this week. Thanks for tuning into Fight Culture episode 3. Make sure you come back for episode 4. Peace out, everybody.
And just to let everybody know, that number again is 747-344-4863. Leave us a voicemail this week. We'll get to it next week. And next week, if we are live, go ahead and hit us up live. All right. Take it easy, guys.